Wow, hello everyone. What a day. Fabulous. It's been an amazing second year. Loved it. Fatima is sitting next to me. We're excited. We're a bit exhausted, a bit more excited, but it's been really, really good. And I can't thank you enough, Fatima. And I'm looking at her like that next to us to say it's been a really dynamic day, and we've been very fortunate. There she is. We've been very fortunate, and the speakers, the panel members, and the fact that we had so many people in the audience. We just had 60 people dial into the last session. We've got 52 people in this session now, and that's just amazing. So thank you very much for your support and your good wishes and your great questions that you've put forward, and you just basically your whole support for us. It really is. We can't thank you enough. One of the things that we want to do now is just do a wrap up of how the day went. We're going to be, it's myself and Fatima, and we're just really going to reflect on the different speakers we had. We've got the chat open there for any questions that you have. So maybe if you didn't have a question that was answered and you really want to put that in there. Some of the speakers are still actually on the sessions, so they could even jump in and maybe answers. But if a question's come up to you now and you thought, oh, I'm really interested in, say, what Fatima just was talking about, or can I have access to a piece of information that someone was talking about? This is the time to put it in there now. And we also want to get your feedback about how the sessions have gone and how they've flown. And obviously, there's technical issues, and some things go great and some things don't go so great. So that the only way that we're going to have these to get better is that feedback. So like one of our speakers was saying, you're asking for the feedback, and that's what you want to take it with an open heart and an open mind, and that's what we're here for. So
with that being said, we are also not finishing the day. We are just wrapping up the APAC part of today. We are very close to handing over to the EMEA region, and the team in EMEA and then the Americas have done a brilliant job and have spent a lot of time over the last year putting this together. A huge team of volunteers. In particular, I just want to say a quick thank you to Julie, my co-host over here, and to Abby, who's behind the scenes, who's been helping to make sure all the speakers are being prepared. And thank you to the speakers that have joined us, so we don't forget that, because once we get into Q&A and insights, I'm sure we're going to forget. And then also to our sponsors, make sure you visit the sponsor booth if you've not visited them. You can raise questions with them directly there. You can connect with all the speakers. And as Julie said, as we go through and do a bit of a wrap up and talk to you about some of the insights from each of the sessions, please put your questions into the chat. We're happy to answer any of those as well. Thank you, and let's do it.
Let's do it. And I can see Adrian's already in the chat as well. So thank you, Adrian. It's a great day. Many congratulations to you both and all speakers. Well done. Well done for you too. Amazing session. So what Fatima and I are going to do now is literally get out our sheet that we had before. Because as the day's gone on, I've been writing notes furiously, and sometimes we've been writing question marks there. We didn't really understand what that meant. So let's just. So I've just had a technical item that's come up. But even at the end of the day, things are still popping up left, right, and centre. So Fatima, it's like you're way over there.
Yeah. So who are we starting with? Demi, not all PMOs are created equal. Discover the PMO that drives organizational success and growth. So what were your key takeaways from Demi's presentation that we can share with the audience?
One of the things that Demi was saying that really hit the mark was about the different levels of PMO. So it's not just, as she's saying here, it's not just it's not one size fits all. So there's project PMOs, there's programs, there's portfolios, enterprise, and her was saying on that, you can come, someone can come into an organisation and go, oh, that's the PMO and that just does that. And she's saying, no, it's a bit like having a meal. You can have all different. It's still a meal, but you might be having different cuisine. You might be having different things. So that's the one for me that I'd like for people to remember, is that it's not one. It literally is not one size fits all, and it's not that they're all created equal. So that was my takeaway.
And interesting you say that, because if you think about it, as most of us are professionals in this space, we understand that there are differences. But imagine our stakeholders. Stakeholders only have to know that there is projects and there is projects. But in PMO, there's all sorts of PMOs. It's like a licorice all sorts. So it's quite confusing. So I think Demi talked about simplifying the PMO language. And I think that will really help our stakeholders to be less confused. So thank you, Demi, for joining us. So moving on to AJ.
AJ, wow. Firstly, AJ was our, I'm going to say, test pilot on the quick and 15-minute lightning session, and he was lightning, on point. And one of the things that made my eye, get very excited and pop out of my head was he actually was talking about automation and AI, and had a real life example there, because he goes, oh, I decided to ask, hey, give me a presentation on what this is about. Bang, here it is. And it's just, it's live, it's there, that's what it's about. And he was able to demonstrate that. So that's, I really enjoyed it. It's full of energy.
And I think AJ probably was the only speaker we had today that was specifically focused on AI and automation. And I talked about that being a really big trend for PMOs in 2024, moving into 2025. But the one key takeaway that I really, really appreciated that AJ said was tomorrow's PMOs will be project accelerators. And I think that is critical, because without PMOs, there is no projects, and without projects, there is no PMOs. But you want to get to a point that, without projects, without PMOs, there's no projects. So let's be those project accelerators. So I think that was a really great, insightful session. You can play back and watch the recording.
Yes.
They'll be available. So the panel discussion that you facilitated, Julie, with Demi, Mark, and Saeed.
Well, I'll say that from a panel, it was a breeze. It was easy. They all behaved themselves. They were all wonderful to have on there. And I'm just kidding. And if you're listening to me now, it was fabulous to have you all on there. Posing the question to them, there was a lot of the themes started coming back about emotional intelligence, and all of them had really good insights into saying, well, one of the questions we posed to them was, what do you see as an important skill? Is it more your soft skill or your more traditional technical type of skill? And they all came back with a similar response, which was about the emotional intelligence. And that to me was like, yeah, that's key. And for the rest of the group, I think it's a really good takeaway.
And I think to elaborate on that, I recall the quote about first seek to understand, then to be understood, and that's really important to get stakeholders on board. So I thought that was really powerful, and I also love the concept of testing out the hypothesis, which is another thing that I think was really important. So make sure you catch that panel. You can watch it back at any time. Don't worry about me. Let's go to Adrian.
I don't know about this next.
Don't worry about this next one. Let's talk about Adrian. Getting the steer code right, like so niche of a topic, very insightful.
Oh, absolutely. When I was off, one of the things that the camera goes off here, and I was literally saying to Fatima, I've got a real tear in my eye, and that's my way of saying I'm happy, because Adrian kept reiterating about, if you don't, the fact that if you have a steerco and how do you keep them accountable? And there was a question in there about the OKRs and how, if they keep having delegates go, they're literally telling you all they need to say is they're not interested. And so really good discussion about that mix and getting the steerco right, i.e. getting those right people in there. And it's not just a talk fest, and it's not just an opportunity for people to have a bit of a chin wag. I love them all.
And I will attest to the fact that you were getting very teary, Julie. I don't know why, but I clearly have passion for steercos. But interestingly, I think what was really stood out for me was there isn't a real definitive optimal number, but really Adrian talked about 8. And I think that's a really good number. It's also my favorite number, so hence why I think that makes sense. But you know what was really interesting, that I think the steering committees are often, appointed these roles or these hatted roles, and they often don't even know what it means. And so there's a real gap in understanding what the role of the steering committee does. So yeah, thanks, Adrian, and you can definitely watch that back. Oh. Moving on to Karen now.
Karen. That's when, and that was, I'm going to have to confess again, there was more tears in my eyes about Karen was so sensible and talking about that whole, being brave about unlearning, and And that's something that, you know, a lot of the discussions today were on, yes, some different technical skills and a bit of emotional intelligence. But she took it to that. I'm going to go next level, but getting deeper. But for us to challenge ourselves, and I can't remember exactly what the terminology, but I'm definitely going to read this, and where she was saying that, yeah, really, you got to get out of your comfort zone, and that's how you learn. And that really sort of sat me back, and I went, oh yes, she's spot on about that. So another one to re-listen to, and Karen said, thank you very much, Karen, for all your insights.
And I think Karen referenced a really long quote that was really insightful, and I just took one component of it. I don't think I'm allowed to break up quotes, but I will in this instance. I am co-host, so I'm allowed. Unlearning means to admit you were wrong yesterday. So that really resonated with me, and it's okay to be wrong. It's easier to admit that you were wrong and then take an initiative to adapt to what you need to moving forward, rather than to try to kind of force a square peg in a round hole. So I think adaptability is one of the most necessary skills that any PMO leader can have.
And that's it. I've got someone in the chat. Oh, I think it's.
And what about our last panel?
Sorry.
You can't miss our executive panel.
No.
So we did have an executive panel with Alicia and Phil. Unfortunately, we missed Jess today, but we will definitely make sure we get her insights and share them with you. But what was your key takeaways from that?
I took crazy amounts of notes, because one of the things that you asked them is, so we're all here, and basically, what do we do to have to impress you? And so I thought, oh, that's a very good point. When they, both Alicia and Phil, were talking about in the third year, that's when you need to refresh. They're talking about. So the whole thing about, you know, governance, it's not just set and forget. So if it's, if there's a strategy in a perfect world, we'd go into an organisation and have a 5-year strategy, and we'd say, yep, let's all go. We've got this same pathway, and they talk about the North Star. But from the executives' perspective, it was, we started it, and then we realised we missed a step, and that's what you were talking about before. So I thought, well, that's really insightful that the executive, first of all, recognised it, and secondly, admitted it, and then actually could pinpoint, because it's lessons learned. So don't do that again. And I guess for the rest of us, it's make sure we have that we don't just go, yep, we've got the PMO, it's all ready to go, because it's also going to transform.
Absolutely.
So that was what I took.
I definitely resonate with that, and particularly because even with the amount of money that, as I said, banking spends in that agile world and in governance, they still got things wrong. So with that amount of money, you still make mistakes. So I think that was interesting. But I really loved what Phil said around, if you hire good people means you need less governance, but it doesn't replace it. And so trust but verify. So build trust. Once you've got that trust, you're only really stepping in to verify. So that really resonated for me from that conversation. And then we had Matt from Mate. What was your thoughts on that?
We had Mike.
Oh, sorry, we had Michael, who was a very different type of conversation. He was helping us to sell our services, particularly for those that are on call today, like me, and that are consultants. What was your big takeaway from Michael?
Oh, well, for a start, it was just a dynamo and so much energy. I loved it. And that's exactly what you're saying. So once again, from us, from a how do we sell our services, and really resonated with. It's not making sure that you get to the right people. So we have an assumption that I've got to talk to that person there, and then we knock on the door and the door doesn't answer it, and it's like, no, because that's not the right person. So bringing that skills, and he also talked about his playbook, which we can download. And so I thought that is a really good point, because we're not all natural marketers. Most of us aren't. Well, most of us, we're here doing PMO because that's what we love to do. So that was a real key takeaway, is to download his playbook and to explore his strategies more.
And I think I'd just add his reference to AIR, the advice, insights, and recommendations. So that was something that he has spoken a lot about, and he does that all the time. And it's a really insightful way. But think about what you're providing, particularly for those providing content online. Is it insightful? Is it an advice, or is it a recommendation? And then I think that will help to build that trust with your community as well. And then we move to Matt from Mate in our second lightning talk of the day.
He and I've got there's more feedback in there to say about I think we need to explore the lightning session ideas more, and that's really good to hear because I like and Matt went a couple of minutes over, but we were just riveted. Like, you know, what are you saying here, Matt? Now here's the whole role of change management that you know, incorporating them, and so the reason why we're doing here is because we want to change something, because we want to add value, we want to realise benefits. So the way he just summarised that all up was very pointed for me, and my biggest takeaway that I kept hearing was make sure you get the change managers, and really also we are all change managers. We may not be called that in our title, but kind of get on board because that's what we are. We might have thought change agents, but you know, we're all leaders here or aspiring to be leaders. So, you know, change management is something that needs to be absolutely in our toolkit as well. So that was my takeaway.
I think that really resonates, particularly around the PMO trends that we talked about for 2025, and there was a change management angle. So Matt, being a change management expert and has been doing this for 20 years, to sort of articulate that just helps put into perspective that we're not off the right track with that. And also the fact that only 12% of organisations sustain the benefits after those projects and programs are gone. Because if we think about it, the benefits is the problem of the projects and program managers. And then when the projects and programs shut down, what happens? Benefits get thrown over the fence to operations or business as usual or finance. And then really the two don't meet at all. And so there's a really big disconnect. So let's not waste millions of dollars and save ourselves the headache by getting our benefits realization right. On that note, I think that brings us to the end. Unfortunately, we missed Esmira today, but we will get her session to you. Thank you to everyone for all of your support and for being here. For those that have been here from the start, we hope it's been insightful and valuable. Remember, you can access the recordings for all the sessions that will become available immediately, as well as some of the resources, including some of the slides for some speakers that have approved those to be released. We're about to head over to EMEA region, who is up next. Don't forget the hashtag, the PMO leader. And I think the last but not least, a huge thank you to our sponsors, Cyforma, Fluid, Sedoxis, Planisware, Transparent Choice, the PMO Squad and AMO for making this possible. We would not have been able to do that without their support. And for me personally, thank you to Julie, who has done a phenomenal job in setting up this year's conference, working with the teams in the US and EMEA region, and Abby for all her continued support. So on that note, we're going to leave it there, but stay tuned for those that want to join the EMEA region, or you can watch them back, but we'll see you on the other side. Thank you, everyone, and we hope you've got value from today. Have a good night.
Thank you, everyone.